Buti, and thank you so much for your time tonight. The minister spoke about a reprioritization of the budget in order to fund all qualifying NSFAS students. So let's begin with those. How much money is it going to require, and what is the department going to cut from its budget in order to be able to do this?
Well, thank you very much, Kathy, and also good afternoon or good evening to viewers at home. We would really firstly must express our gratitude, but also condolences to the family of the deceased, of the young man who died yesterday. And I think, as the minister said, that we will be doing everything in our powers to make sure that we get to the bottom of this issue. We've instructed the university to make sure that they, working together with the police, that we get to the bottom of this. Now, today's announcement was mainly around the first-year students, as there has been some concern, pressures in the national fiscus. Our department last year was one of those which got drastic cuts with the zero budget process that the Minister of Finance announced. And as a result, this was going to greatly affect the new entrance into the post-school education and training system. So we had to, go on and find resources within the department, to try and channel those resources towards funding for new students. And I must confirm today that all deserving students who qualify based on the criteria of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, and also who have found a space in a university or in a technical vocational education and training institution, will be funded. So all the anxieties that I'm aware most parents and most students have been going through, that has been settled. This obviously means that we have to sacrifice some of the programs in the department, but we believe that as we continue to reprioritize and have discussions with the Treasury as part of the build-up towards the medium-term budget statement, we will be able to find more resources and come to a much more sustainable solution to fund fee-free higher education in our country.
So, Mr. Manamela, if you can give me the specifics, right, because numbers are important in this conversation. We know that there was a cut of about 6.8 billion rand towards the overall spending for NSFAS. Now, the reprioritization, how much money do you need in order to keep to this commitment? So how much money are you reprioritizing from other programs in the department in order to make this possible? And which programs will you be cutting on?
Okay, so firstly, we're talking about more than 160,000 students who will be going to our universities and our TVET colleges. Secondly, we're talking about resources to the at least close to about 9 billion rand, resources which were raised from our new generation academic program, resources which were raised from the National Skills Fund, resources which were also mobilized, as the minister announced, from some of the sector education and training authority. So that's the extent within which we have to go to do this reprioritization in order to ensure that we fund the fee-free higher education.
The NSFAS students are just one segment that forms part of this protest. You also have included in the demands of the students during this protest, and some of these issues that I'm raising are the ones that resonate nationally, and you will find them in more of the demands that have been written down from different institutions of higher learning. They are calling for a scrap in the fees. This is of the application fees and the registration fees at institutions of higher learning. If memory serves correct, that was also one of the recommendations that was made by the HEHA Commission. Why do we still have these application fees and registration fees?
We have made a commitment as government that all students who are NSFAS students should not be required to pay any registration fee or any of the application fees, that all of those will be paid through their allocation of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. And I think it's important that we emphasize this, that any student must not be required to pay this. This is an agreement which we've reached with all the universities and with all the TVET colleges. But of course, there are those students who fall outside of this purview, whom we believe should be, as expected by their respective universities, be able to pay the required amount for them to be able to study at those institutions. So I think we need to make that distinction between the students who are covered by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and those students who are outside of that. And yes, one of the other issues which the students have been raising relates to the issue of student debt. For instance, at WITS, student debt comes close to about R1 billion, and that's the case with some of the universities. And the point which where we think all of us need to take into consideration is that universities would need resources over and above what government allocates for them to be able to run, and that those students whose households can afford to pay for tuition and whatever other services that they're getting from universities should be able to pay, especially those students who are not covered by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. And that all universities have been encouraged to enter into agreement with students who owe them, so that those students can be able to register and continue with their studies and conclude their studies.
So one of the big issues that is being highlighted here is around the group that is now also defined as being one of the most vulnerable in the system, because they don't qualify for NSFAS funding, but they also struggle in terms of being able to pay their fees. And those form part of the missing middle students. And, a call for the scrapping of application fees and registration fees would be primarily directed towards those students. And if you can give us a picture, Minister, of what you're doing to address the concerns of the missing middle students whose debt has increased, they've got no way of bringing it down, and they still need to be able to continue with their education.
Yes, this has been one of the thorny issues, and through our statement this morning that was made, by the Minister, we have indicated that this is an issue that we are attending with the agency that it deserves, and that there are several proposals that have been put into place, and that those proposals are being considered. And I think, with time and considering the agency of the matter, the Minister and the department will definitely make an announcement on this particular issue.
But Minister, it's been urgent since 2015, when the protests of the Fallers and the hashtag Fees Must Fall protests were taking place. The issue of the missing middle students was raised even in the HEA report. So there's different documentation that is available to government about how these students have been vulnerable over the years. So why is it urgent today when it's something that we've known about at the very least for the past 4 years, at least going by the own commissions that the department has conducted?
Firstly, the agency of the question is obviously not in doubt. What was established at the time, from the HEA Commission and from various other programs and projects that the department had initiated, was that there was a whole range of interventions, including interventions within the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and various private and public collaborations whose intention was to fund the so-called missing middle. And unfortunately, some of these initiatives have collapsed with time. And it is with that background that we are looking at various ways within which we can save the situation.
Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Buti Manamela, thanks for your time. We'll leave it there for tonight.